After a disappointing crash towards the end of the British Grand Prix, Max Verstappen is furious. You'd think things might have cooled down a bit, but new information suggests that the Red Bull leadership is annoyed with Verstappen for refusing to sign a new deal. He has a performance clause, and with Verstappen sitting P7 in the standings, he can walk away from Red Bull without any issues. Max is not happy where Red Bull is right now, and Red Bull says Verstappen is ungrateful after everything they did for him. I'm Wimbo. Here's 3 seconds to leave a like. De Limburger and De Telegraaf are two Dutch newspapers that both publish stories about the situation between Max Verstappen and the Red Bull leadership. De Limburger spoke about Red Bull being in the waiting room again after 3 years of the same rumours around the summer break of a possible departure of their star driver. In previous years, the exit clauses couldn't be used. But it's different this season. Max Verstappen always seemed to be happy enough to stay with the Austrian team. This season, Verstappen can use the exit clause if he's not in the top 2 of the standings by the summer break. With 2 races to go and the gap being larger than 50 points, Verstappen has until October to decide if he stays or goes. This is what frustrates Red Bull. They believe they did everything they could to keep Verstappen, and with 2026 being a season with a huge set of new regulations, the shareholders expected more gratitude from the 4-time world champion. They said they wanted more loyalty as they put hundreds of millions of dollars into Verstappen's bank account. They are basically saying Verstappen is ungrateful. Okay, this is pretty big. I'm not sure if this is the right approach towards Verstappen, but we'll talk about that later. Erik van Haren from De Telegraaf wrote how disappointed Verstappen is with the situation at Red Bull. Gianpiero Lambiase, Verstappen's engineer and head of racing at Red Bull, is not being kept up to speed on new developments anymore because he's leaving for McLaren no later than 2028. Verstappen is being pressured to sign a new deal without exit clauses because this is something that was discussed years ago. All this comes after a crash at Silverstone where for the second weekend in a row the infamous Macarena wing didn't close quickly enough and made Verstappen spin. Both in Austria and England, Verstappen was lucky to come away from these accidents without any injuries. He said it was becoming dangerous. It's been a while since I've seen Max this angry, and this time it wasn't the FIA he was angry with, or an annoying British reporter from The Guardian. It was anger pointed at his own team. Also because Verstappen didn't like the setup of his car at Silverstone. He wanted to change things and start from the pit lane, but was denied. I have a theory why he was denied, which I'll explain in the next chapter. So at this stage, Mekis and his team are not listening to him on top of all the other problems. This is pretty much what I've picked up about the situation. There might be more to it, but maybe I'll handle that in another video. I want to tackle the main points from this news first. When we talk about the Red Bull leadership, we used to talk about Helmut Marko as advisor and Christian Horner as team principal. Marko looked after the junior program and was in charge of who got a seat and who didn't, and Christian Horner was doing a lot more. He was the CEO, sorting out deals with sponsors and running the team's business from day to day. And he sat on the pit wall for all the races. Those two hired the best people and Dieter Mateschitz left them to it. Well, this changed after Mateschitz died. Dieter Mateschitz had released his shares in the Red Bull business bit by bit to Mark Mateschitz, his son. And Mark hired Oliver Mintzlaff to be his right-hand man. Those two didn't want Horner to get equity, even saw him as a liability. So the civil war started within Red Bull, and they eventually fired Horner. Helmut Marko thought he won, but he was let go as well. So basically Mintzlaff and Mateschitz Jr. run the show. I think the departure of all the competent people at Red Bull was because those people were loyal to Horner and had no trust in the dynamic duo. A lot of these people have been replaced by people from the Red Bull football branch. So that leaves Laurent Mekis as the only one with a high-ranking function with knowledge of Formula 1. It's no surprise that Max Verstappen is hesitant to sign up for another deal, especially one without exit clauses. Verstappen has been very loyal to the team for 12 years. during which he was voted the best driver for most of those years, even last season after not winning the title. For those two, whom I mentioned earlier, to say Verstappen is ungrateful, I'd like to point out that in 2025 and 2024, Red Bull would have been nowhere if it wasn't for Max Verstappen squeezing out 8-9 wins per season and winning the 24 title without having the best car. Verstappen showed loyalty in his early years as well, when they had Renault engines that failed time and again. They talk about the hundreds of millions Verstappen gained at Red Bull, but fail to see that their company made billions, as Verstappen is the best advertising any brand can buy. That guy sleeps in team merchandise. I think those two clowns made a huge error, as the Verstappens don't like to be pressured. It rubs it the wrong way. There was a good reason to demand an exit clause, and as it's hard to find a new team with the right terms, it was wise to have it written down that the decision would be made known as late as October, because it buys them time. Now, this is speculation from my end, but I've never heard Red Bull deny Verstappen's wishes when it came to setups and technical stuff. It almost feels like they denied him a new engine and a more on-the-nose setup just to let him know he isn't in charge. Nothing against Isaac Hadjar, but the fact he outqualified Verstappen tells me that there's a balance in the RB22 that prevents Verstappen from getting that extra magic out of the car. They did it to make a point towards Max and protect Isaac. I think they are playing a very dangerous game, as Verstappen can lose his head and quit Red Bull, even if it cuts the nose to spite the face, just out of general principle. He'll stay home in 2027 to enjoy his family and other endeavours, no problem. And then there are the other teams who are keeping an eye on this situation. I know Total Wolf said he's happy with the lineup, but it's not October yet. We know he's hot for Verstappen, and if you consider that every season in a new set of regulations, the grid converges and the teams get closer to each other, you have to wonder if you'd want Verstappen on your team or fighting your team. Max could wear an orange papaya suit too next season, as stories are emerging that Oscar Piastri isn't happy at McLaren and wants out. Zak Brown has said he's happy with his drivers, but Max is Max, and if one of his drivers slips in the bathroom and drops out, he'd be happy to hire Verstappen. Actually, there are articles floating around that this is happening, so stay tuned. This would reunite Max with GP as well. Marky and Ollie should think of what's left of Red Bull if Max Verstappen also leaves the team. It'll be ground zero, and the Racing Bulls might beat the senior team. Big sponsors will want out, and overall they'd have to start from scratch again. And maybe that's what they wanted all along. Billionaires are weird people. The coming months will be very interesting. The first question is whether Verstappen will get through a session without problems and finish a race in a decent position. Then there's the question of which oldtimer at Red Bull will leave next, as it's rumoured Paul Monahan has an offer from Cadillac. And then we wait for the big Max Verstappen news. As you can tell, I'm a little bit done with Red Bull and their shenanigans. This team is not the team he joined, so I'd be happy to see him in new merch, being awesome. What do you think? Subscribe, take care now, doei doei.